A little bit about my quick background. After I graduated and left Maryland, I went to Florida for a couple of years. Actually, Martin got me a job in Florida, believe it or not. Uh, a job that he was supposed to take, and he turned it down, so I took it. But I started off as a documentary photographer, daily assignments and shooting sports. I got to Los Angeles 7 years later, and with more documentary. My biggest work that I'm actually known for is the LA riots, covering that. Um, but after that, and after a couple of wars, being a war photographer for a while, and then I came back, and then 9/11 happened, and I covered 9/11 extensively. And then I got back and totally changed lifestyles. I totally did a 180 switch and went into entertainment. So that's when I started doing portraits. Started doing heavily portraits, fashion, and have made a career and a name for myself doing it that way, covering the rich and famous pretty much. And I think Martin's shown you some of my work, and I kind of do conceptual art as well, as far as if you want something interesting or a studio shot, I would do it in a creative, conceptual, whimsical kind of way. Just to add a little flair and add a little competition to myself, to make myself a little bit more, instead of just doing the normal shot, I always go overboard and try to do something a little bit different. So I got some samples of some work to show you guys. For me, it's easier for me to, if you guys chime in and ask questions as I go along, because sometimes, your questions will trigger a memory of why I did it that way and how I did it that way, and I'm more than happy to explain it to you. Some of these have schematics on them of where I put the lights, how I put the lights, and also too, as far as me shooting too, I mean, it's not like I go around shooting everything with pro photos. A lot of my portraits are done with reflectors. I have a couple of handheld strobes that are in really cheap umbrellas that you buy off of. I bought them off of eBay, literally. So it's like stuff that you guys can afford, because my main reflector is about 24 inches wide, and I just pop a Canon strobe inside, handheld strobe inside, and that's my main light. Because I go light and I go portable, because I have to be in and out a lot of times. And most of my shoots, most of my celebrity shoots are 15, 20 minutes tops. And 20 minutes is really a lot of time. If I can figure out how to show it to you, I'd start just running. How do I share the screen with them?
Okay, so wiggle the cursor on this big screen, and you'll see all those weird little icons at the bottom. It's the sharing icon that's right next to that red recording icon in the middle. So it's like the third from the left.
Oh, third from the left. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Click on it, and you get a whole bunch of different share screen options.
Okay. And let's
just pick the one at the top is easiest.
Okay, you guys can see that?
Yeah, actually, you can also collapse the participants thing, that panel, the white panel at the right. Yep. You can X that out and you get a bigger screen.
Perfect.
Thank you. We know who's here.
Okay, so I am going to start off by just showing you guys some portraits work. Like I said, if you have questions on any of this, chime in, chime away, and talk about it. It's kind of a mixture of portraits and fashion, so we are going to run the entire gamut today. I've got some sports in here for our sporting folks to talk about a little bit later too. So this is a swimsuit fashion piece I did in of all places, a Frank Lloyd Wright home. It's only an excessively, insanely expensive house that we rented out for the day. Whoops, where'd it go? That we rented out for the day to do this in. but it had great light and interesting corners. This is a reflector bounced in from outside, just one reflector. Slightly, it's a sun bounce reflector, so it's got a slightly warming skin tone to it. And you can see that. But if you look at the white shoes aren't really white; they're slightly warmer. That's how you can tell. The whole idea is just having her is direction, eye direction, leading on to and off the page. And you guys really need to ask questions about a lot of this stuff. So chime in there, especially my fashion folks.
Yes, actually, Kirk, if you would, the participants panel on the right, go ahead and X that out and actually have a bigger screen to look at.
What's that? Oh, the participant.
Yeah, so the white participant panel all the way on the right, I think you're seeing it on your screen. Or is this on my screen, actually?
Okay.
Oh, crap, it's on my screen. Never mind, I'm sorry.
Okay. I just reduced it down so it's out of the way. So let me increase the size of this a little.
Yeah.
All right. So on the same shoot, and it was 50s fashions, by the way, with swimsuit fashion. So we had this in the master bedroom, and it looks out onto the foyer entryway. And so there's this, again, lit by one reflector, one giant reflector outside, pumping light back inside. And I wanted to model the walk, and I wanted her to like throw off the this little robe that she had. The feeling of her throwing it off and heading out towards the pool was the whole idea behind this shoot. Really slow shutter speed. You can see a little motion still on the robe. And it basically just to get the motion. And but for this, it's all about that little throw of the robe with her walking out. And we did this probably 10, 12 times to make sure I got the right motion into it. I'm sorry. I will have to say this is two reflectors. There is another reflector that's inside on the right side that's that's kicking the light that we get from outside back onto her for some fill.
How many news organizations, especially newspapers, are still shooting fashion supplements that you know about?
I know about it. I know the New York Times does it. The Washington Post has a fashion page that they do, but that's usually the fashion page from Fashion Week, which is a little bit different. I know the Dallas paper does, still shoots fashion. The Seattle paper does, and I know San Francisco does not quarterly. I think they come out twice a year. They do a spring and a fall fashion. That's all I know about that actually does it on a daily basis, or actually on a weekly or monthly basis. We actually have a image section, which is fashion, which is every week. So for a lot of it, I shoot I used to shoot a lot of the cover stuff for it. All right, so let's move. Question?
Are there any questions yet? Nope, you can probably go ahead.
So every year the Oscar ceremony happens, and I get to do, I put up a little booth at the beginning of the Oscar. And I'm a little different from the other photographers. I've known the Academy people for so long, they actually give me a little 10 by 20 square room. So after they do the runway walk, they walk into, just before they walk into the theater setting, I've got a little room off to the side. It's usually just white. I usually just do a simple white because I'm more interested in who they are, what they're wearing. So this is, I can't remember her name, but she starred in The Office. And the guy in the background is her boyfriend. Her boyfriend's Chris. I've known Chris for 20 years. So I had asked him to step out of the picture and do I just wanted to get her dress. But Chris, being Chris, at the last second jumped back in and gave me a little hook 'em horns and just made the picture come alive.
He's a UT guy?
No, yeah, Chris actually works for NBC. Chris is actually a photographer who works for NBC. That's why I've known him forever, because I go on set on the set all the time, and I see him, and we're always shooting against each other. So he just took the opportunity to photobomb my picture.
That's funny.
And this is the dude. So we met him at a restaurant, and the restaurant was closed, and he knew the owner, so we got in to do the interview. And I was trying to find a place to shoot this guy that was kind of dynamic. So in the middle of the interview, I shot him all over the restaurant and was trying to figure out something really, really cool for him. So in the middle of the restaurant, middle of the interview, he says, "I got to go pee. I'll be right back." So he starts walking up the steps, and I go, wait a minute. I ran up in front of him, and there was a great light coming in from down, and there was a skylight. And so as he's walking up, the light just starts to appear on his face, and that's when I shot it. So it's just paying attention to light and looking around the room, looking at my environment. And so this is, we didn't even use any of the other stuff. We just went straight to this one image because it was, with his eyes up like that, and his, the dynamic motion of him taking that last step up towards the steps like that. We didn't have to say he was going to the bathroom, but that's basically where he was headed. This shot, Wesley Snipes got himself into a lot of trouble, went to jail for tax evasion. So when he came back out, he was pretty much kind of a changed man. And he was doing another movie. So we did a profile on Wesley. And I knew he always wore a hat. He's got really, really dark skin tone. So basically I use the contrast of light and dark and shadow, because I know he wears dark clothing all the time too. So as to get him in a position where he's thankful for being out. So the praying hands got him. Really want this to work. Thank God I'm out. And the light says it all. It was just minimal light. The two lights, one in the front, one in the back for a little fill, just so his head totally doesn't separate in the background. And then one little light that's not in front of him. It's 3/4 behind him, because I just wanted that little spill to get that little catch light underneath his eyes, and the hands just to be highlighted and just put a little crowning effect on those.
Really good example of a low-key image.
Yeah, really low key. This is all of it. This is total Rembrandt right here. This one was an interesting one. We met at another restaurant in LA, and interestingly enough, his mother is a photographer by trade. So we had a lot of whoops, sorry about that. Most of the shoot was talking about photography. I didn't even take a picture until 15-20 minutes into interview. We were just sitting here talking, and then so he looks at me and goes, "So, are we gonna take some pictures or what?" So I go, "Yeah, but I'm not gonna do it here." So you might, if we just take a walk and look over just around the corner, because there's some poles that I wanted to shoot at, and we came across, and we found this little setting, and the light was nice, and I asked him would he just bring his hand up and in a kind of a thoughtful pose, because it was all about his career and where he was at and where he was going. So I wanted him reflective, and I wanted him thinking about what he's done and where he's headed. So a lot of my shoots are reading the story, or talking to reporters, finding out what angle they're looking for, what they want to say about their story ideas is going to be, and then I try to mirror that, and then I add a little inflection of my own into it, whether it should be thoughtful or whether he should be real energetic about where he was going. This one felt to me like more thoughtful than anything else. So it's a quiet moment, but the eyes are what grabs you. If you look at it, it's all the intention of him looking at and soul searching. I don't know if you saw the Old Spice commercial. This is the man that's on a horse. And it was all about him and after his commercial made such a huge splash in the market that he was bare chested. He was usually had a towel around the waist. So this is at his house. I had him open his garage door. I put up a white background. I put light from two sides onto the background, one light in the front, and I had a bowl of water in front, and I had him dip his hand in.
Everyone just laughed. What?
I don't know what happened. It just kicked a bunch of people. We just kicked a bunch of people off. Let's see. I have awesome connections on WebEx, but it hasn't like kicked everybody out before. That's a new trick. And yeah, do fine without it. How's everyone else doing? You're doing better than WebEx, I guess. Let's go back. Okay, yeah, and actually, right before it logged you off, it wasn't letting anybody see what was on your screen. I think you were still talking. You were talking about this picture with the old one still up.
Oh,
of the guy on the portico.
Gotcha.
So who was logged out? Katie, you were logged out, right? Didn't it kick you off? Kristen, it kicked you off.
It didn't kick me off. I stayed on.
Okay. But it kicked you off? Let's see. I'm going to send something to everybody. You may get spammed. Okay, so Kirk, I think for the sake of not wasting any time, I'll let you go ahead and just continue to talk about Old Spice.
Okay.
Old Spice guy.
Hold on, I'm trying to change the screen size so we can get a little bit bigger here.
David Lynch. My man. David Lynch fan.
David's awesome. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Got the setting wrong. How do I minimize this window again? There we go.
So you're in Photo Mechanic.
There we go. I got it. I got to go wait for thing because it was just running. So anyway, so the Old Spice guy. So basically, he had to stick his hand in and bring the water up to his face because I wanted him to make a splash. So he thought I was crazy. He got on the phone, called his agent, and his agent basically said, "Do it. It's the LA Times." So he did it for me. Still thought I was crazy, but he actually did it.
Why did he think it was crazy?
He just thought it was a crazy idea. He goes, "You want me to do what?" And I was trying to explain to him that it's all about making a splash. And then after a couple of times, he finally got it, what I was trying to do. But yeah, he didn't get the idea right off the bat. But you know, it worked out really well because you know the women in the office loved it. And it ran full page, the entire front page of the image section. So he got a big splash out of it. So then he called me. About a week later, I got a postcard from him saying thanks for the splash. So this is Jeremy Renner. Had to do a quick portrait of him just after what movie was this one? I can't remember which movie this was. It was in the fall, hence the coat. And I bought a 4x5 and wanted to give it a try. So this is like
one of the Avengers movies.
No, it was before the Avengers movie. It was a spy movie that the Jason Bourne, the Jason Bourne movie. This is right after he did the last Jason Bourne movie. So 4x5, wanted to give it a shot. Brought the white backdrop because, like I said, I like shooting on white because it just concentrates on the subject. Left the frame in to show that it was on 4x5. Basically, it just I did 4x5. That was basically it. I mean, I could have easily done it 35, but I wanted to try the 4x5, and he appeased me and gave me a little extra time to do it. So it worked out well. And this is natural light. This is no reflectors, no strobes. I just had enough time to set the backdrop up and pull out the 4x5, and he said, "Okay, I can give you 5 minutes, and then I got to go." So I couldn't say I didn't have time to set lights up. So he was an interesting character. David was in his art studio. He's also a painter as well as an incredible director. He had this wall, a step that he's in Hollywood Hills. So his house sits on top of the hill, but his driveway and his entryway is down the bottom of the hill. And he's got this gray painted wall. So he's saying, "Come on up to the studio," and I'm saying, "No. This is, I want the gray background. I need, I love the light here, especially with his white hair." So I quickly set up three Canon strobes on light stands, and that's how this is lit. I got another one of him coming, strobe off to the far right, strobe off to the far left, and one small fill dialed way, way, way down in the front. And very, really, really simple light. It's just where you put the light. And a heavy light on the left for direction, light on the right as a fill, and then just a fill in the front. And I mean a really minimal fill, just enough to a 60th of a second, or I'm sorry, a 60th output, 1/64th output in the front, just as a fill, because I didn't want the shadows to be too heavy. These two starred in a movie, in a TV show about two cops who had to work together and had trust issues. So I wanted her to lean on him. So it was that idea of falling backwards and having the other person there catching you. So that was a very simple shoot. One reflector off to the far left, and just let it go from there. This is actor and director, and she was 6 years old when she did the movie Beasts of the Southern Wild, and really playful kid. And then he was the director, and he's all of 27 himself. And so I wanted them to be kids. I wanted them to have fun. So I said, "Would you give her a piggyback ride?" And she jumped on his back and just started mussing up his hair. So there wasn't really much direction. It was like, when they were on set, they were always playing. So and he was telling me that before she walked up. So I just had them do the exact same thing they did. They were on set. Like I said, a lot of my shoots are talking to them. I spend a lot of time talking to them, getting an idea of what to do. Chiwetel Ejiofor and Michael Fish. My brain's gone right now. They were on a movie, 12 Years a Slave. So, and Michael was the slave owner. So I just asked him to ham it up and asked Chiwetel to just keep it straight, try to keep a straight face out the whole thing. So these guys were just hysterical. Some of the other images from this shoot were interesting, but this one kind of summed up the feeling of the movie and their two characters.
I know those guys.
Breaking Bad. They won their Emmy, their last performance, and they came off the stage all pumped and jazzed. Like I said, I have a photo booth in the back, so they came off stage, came backstage with me, got them all lined up. The big cast and crew. There were too many, more than I thought, but I tried to squeeze them all in there, and they just gave me a yeah.
That's great.
This was I don't know if you saw the movie, TV show, The Punisher. So I had to shoot this guy, and I had to track him down because he kept canceling on me. So I finally caught up with him. He was going on the Tonight Show. This is backstage at the Tonight Show in the green room, and this is the only time I had 2 minutes to make an image. So I had him just pose next to the mirror, lean down. I told him I wanted to do it noir. I told him I was going to make it black and white because he's got one of those faces that's just old timey 1930s tough guy's face. So I wanted to make a film noir out of him. So hopefully I did him justice. And Leonardo, what can I say about Leonardo? It's one of the most laid-back people in LA I have ever met in my entire life. Real easy to work with, though. He'll take directions like you will not believe, especially for a guy of his immense stature. But he takes directions, and this is 3 lights. You can see the lights in his eyes. There's one light overhead. There's one light to the left, and there's a fill light on the far right. If you can see the kick light that's on his hair on the right side and the side of his cheek. I usually do that because I don't like my subjects to go totally dark on one side. So I usually dial it down and then put a light off to the side. It also gives me a little separation from the dark background to his dark blue suit. And that's a little trademark for myself too, because I shoot against dark backgrounds and I ask people to wear dark clothing sometimes. And then shoot. I mean, I've shot black on black and still get separation and still keep the tones and the skin tones. And it's a trick I've learned about getting the light really, really close, and then keeping a distance from the background.
Who is the most easygoing person that you've ever?
The most easygoing person I've ever shot before was Opie, Ron Howard. I'm sorry, and had to photograph him after the movie Splash, and he actually went. I had an assignment to go to go shoot the Dodgers after a baseball game afterwards, and he wanted to come along, so I had Ron Howard as my carrying my camera bag. He went as my assistant.
What a great story.
So the most unassuming guy you ever want to meet in your entire life. And it was hysterical because there are people falling over themselves, just come on and say hello. But, here he is handing me my cameras, changing, and this is film days, changing film for me. Wow. It was hysterical. He had no problem doing any of that. So I was like, yeah, sure, yeah, no problem. What do you want me to do? So this guy was in the movie Ant-Man. He was one of his friends, and he had this basement apartment, and this is him in the window of the basement apartment. So there was nice light coming down, cascading on his face. I just had to have him lift his face up. No reflectors, no lights, just natural light. I always I talk to my editors, and they ask me why I don't light things a little bit more than I do, since you're supposed to be the expert on lighting. And I always tell them, just because you're an expert in lighting doesn't mean you have to light everything. It's just seeing the light. It's not about bringing lights in and creating stuff. I mean, if it's already there, don't destroy the scene. Use it.
That's great.
This is Queen Latifah at her office in Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard, and she's one of the people I always wanted to photograph. So she comes in and says and literally says, "Okay, where do you want the Queen?" And I said, "Well, can we do it on the coffee table?" And she goes, my throne, and sat down and just gave me the pose, and that was it. So this is again natural light. One giant window off to the right side. There's a reflector on the left for fill, and that's it. And she looked at me and she goes, "What? No lights?" And I go, "This great light." And I shot a quick test shot for her and showed it to her, and she just loved it. Matter of fact, it's now hanging in her office. This photograph.
That's awesome.
Charlize Theron, incredible, gorgeous woman, really, really tall. She's like 5'10", 5'11". And then this is what I'm talking about, shooting black on black. There's a black felt in the background. That's a curtain that I hung. I purposely put those little wrinkles off to the side, put the light back there to make the light catch the wrinkles, just so it wasn't totally black. She's got on a black polka dotted shirt. The light that's in the background is a third of a stop hotter than it is in the foreground. There's one, in the background on the left. There's one in the front on the left, and one light on the right. That's a fill. And then it's about letting them be themselves and watching their movement and knowing when to shoot, and trying to catch that little light in the eyes. Especially for her. I mean, she has incredible, as you can see, cheekbone structure, and just looking for where the light should hit her cheekbones, accent all of that. She had that incredibly streaky blonde hair at the time, which made it really nice, so it didn't disappear in the background. I'm really baking out on names today. Another actress, and this is at the Chateau Marmont. And then there is one strobe light off to the left. That's literally just cascading across there. One little fill light to the right, and that's it. And then this one has additional light by natural sunlight coming in from the windows on the other side. Because I wanted to I opened that window and took the curtains off of it on the window on the left, just to get that reflection on the tabletop, that mahogany tabletop. And I just wanted her in a thoughtful mode. And then we had to do a front shot for magazine type cover. So I chose a blue background for the dress that she was wearing. And it's fairly straightforward and fairly simple. Main light off to the right, film on the left, and a low light for the catch light in the eyes. So Superman, Batman, and the director for the Superman, Batman, Snyder. So the idea was to have Henry Cavill do the Superman pose. And this guy is like he's cut out of stone. He's chiseled like you would not believe. And then unfortunately, Ben Affleck was a little overweight, so he wore a dark shirt and did cover it up and tried to duplicate it. But one light upper left, and just let light cascade across them. The idea was to photograph them like they were coming in a comic book. So you wanted comic book lighting. And a reflector off to the left, mostly on Affleck, so his head didn't disappear, so it caught a little light on his ear. But that was it. It was really, really simple. A solid slate gray background paper that I rolled out on and literally stapled to the wall. And then I had to have Snyder stand on a box because Snyder's a little guy. And these two guys are in the 6 foot range. So Moby, one of the few days when it actually rained in Los Angeles, I had to photograph this guy. And so we're trying to figure out, and he's an amateur photographer himself, so we're trying to figure out where to shoot him at. And so it's raining outside, and he says, "So where do you want me?" And I go, "Outside." He goes, "In the rain?" I go, "Yeah, I'll give you an umbrella." So I mounted a strobe inside the umbrella. You can just barely see it, just to the left of the umbrella stand. I didn't want to totally burn it out, so I left it there just a little bit so everybody knew. That's the light that's hitting him in the face. And everything else is natural light. And the strobe goes off. There's a little bit of raindrops you can see slightly beating on top of the umbrella, but the whole idea was just to get an outdoor shot of him. So I created this one, just and then burn down the sky a little bit. But other than that, it's just natural. So he's literally standing on his diving board for a swimming pool. These are two main characters for the TV show Outlander, and like I said, they're very serious. But then this is where he just kind of came up from behind her and just caught her in a moment of jazz hands. And I live for these moments where they're out of character. They aren't being the characters that they are. They're just having fun and just being themselves. So just a goofy shot. That's it. Again, the light. Now this one is interesting because there's no backlight, there's no side light. There's two lights, clamshell lighting. One up, one light high, one light low, and then a slow shutter speed to record some color in the background because it's kind of it's a aquamarine blue background, and it's at least 6 foot back, so I needed it to be a long exposure in order to get some ambient light in the background. But and it's shot at like an f/22, a lot of depth of field in this picture, just so I can shoot really, really slow. This one, these two guys made a parody movie of Star Wars, and then they filmed it out in the desert. And then I had to go back and do a portrait. And they entered it in the Star Wars competition and won first prize. So the editor gave me the assignment of going and photographing these guys. So I took them down to the basement of their apartment complex. They had these lightsabers. Luckily, they were different colors. I had them put on glasses, and then you could barely see the light coming out of this thing. So this is a 1 second exposure at I think f/8, and I needed the glow from the lightsabers onto their skin to make, and then had them do the pose like they're fighting, just to make it humorous, just to make it interesting. And I love the lights and the glasses added a great effect to it, and the glow from on their skin made it feel like the lightsabers and they're actually doing a battle. And shot really, really tight, of course. So this is another example of clamshell lighting with one light off to the far right as a add a little light edge on the side of the face, so she didn't totally go dark there. It was all about the eyes in this one. I don't know what else to say about that. She was a really, really good sport about the shoot, and really wanted to show off the dress, but I shot it tight instead of shooting it really loose. Again, this one was shot on the balcony of her apartment. She has this great planner that was back there, and it was all about shooting it. This is shooting it. I shot this with a 85 1.2 at 1.2 because I didn't want the plant was really really close, and it was the only way I can get it out of focus enough is to shoot it on a really low depth of field because there was not that much room on the balcony. But Kate Beckinsale has this incredible skin, beautiful, and it was all about just her being beautiful. She is on Better Call Saul. She's the attorney that works with Saul. Again, studio shot. There are 7 lights in this photograph. Because she was really concerned about. She said she had a bad skin day or whatever, so she wanted a lot of light pumped in. So I accommodated her by pumping in a lot of light. You can see, I think 1, 2, 3 of them in her eyes, and then there, a background light, of course. 2 background lights, one black background, red gel, and then a couple of side lights. Exact same setup, different day, different actress. She is from Veep. Pardon me for not knowing everybody's name because I've run through these guys so many times and I remember them when I see them, but I can't remember them now. Another actor from Veep, Tim, who is all of 6'8", so he's hard to photograph sometimes. But the idea was just we're just being funny and clowning around. We'd finished the shoot, but then I wanted to do a couple extra shots, and he was really accommodating. We were talking about the riots, and so he was really just put his hands up and said, "Let me think about that for a second." Just told him, hold that pose, and they shot it real quick. But we used another photograph for the story, but I showed this one because I like the image and like the pose. Another young actress, I can't remember her name. I'm so bad at names right now. But if you look at my photographs, you'll notice I concentrate a lot on the eyes. I have the eyes tell the story. It's a lot of times it's direct contact. Even when it's not direct contact, you still see a lot of glimmer in the eyes. It kind of brings the photograph to life.
Kirk, I have a question.
Yeah.
This is just like an observation as like I've been seeing more of your work, but like what's your approach generally like when you first meet some of these people? Because like you don't know these people personally sometimes. Here's an interesting. This is what I do for every single actor I photograph. I talk to the PR people before they get there. I ask them how much time do I have? That's always the key. And then secondly, I do my homework and see what they've done, what they've been in before. So I have something to talk about. And then once they get in the room, the first 5 minutes is talking to them about myself. The interesting fact is I know everything about them. They know nothing about me. So I tell them where I'm from, a little bit of my background, any funny anecdotes I can think of. It's all about lightening the mood because they walk in apprehensive because they don't know who you are from Beans, how good you are, and then I always walk in and I set a laptop up and I shoot tethered. So their PR people will normally shoot there right over your back, trying to look at the back of the camera. So I set up a camera or a laptop off to the side and tell them to go stand over there so I can have my time with the actor. It's just when I'm shooting, it's just me and them, and I don't want anybody behind me. Or I don't want their attention looking at somebody else instead of listening to directions of what I'm telling them to do. But it's all about making them comfortable with me. If I get 15 to 20 frames, I've done a good job. It's not, for me, it's not about how many shots I take. It's about the comfort level in the room between me and the subject. So I shoot less and talk more.
That's really good advice. Thank you so much.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, like I said, it's all about them getting comfortable, and you know, every now and then I ask them a question about their what movies they've been in, but a lot of the time it's just I'm from here and this is what I've done. You know, I noticed you're from this country or whatever. Um, um, Julianne Margulies was a perfect not Julianne Margulies. Yeah, I'm sorry. Julianne Margulies was a perfect one because she grew up on in Fort Bragg Army Base, and my dad was in the Army and as a captain at Fort Bragg Army Base. So we slowly realized we were there at the same time. So then she was like totally relaxed and at ease because we had something in common. Both our fathers were military. We were both military brats. So it's just finding that little common ground, common thread somewhere. So that's. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Were there any situations that were a real challenge in terms of the personality or?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in some nightmares too. I mean, I'm not saying everybody's nice and even keeled like that. I mean, I've been in some situations where I won't say the actress, but I'm doing my best and throwing my charm and telling her about this and going about that, and she goes, "I thought I was just here to get my fucking picture taken." So I was like, "Okay, let's take your fucking picture and get you out the door."
Choice.
So it happens. It's going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it. And all you can do is be polite about it because you will see them again somewhere down your career if that's what you chose to do. And so I keep that in the back of my head that I will run into them again, or I will run into their PR person again, because the PR people represent several different actors. So another good thing to always remember, it's not the actors you're trying to please, it's the PR people you have to please. Because the PR people, they pay the PR people to make them look good. And if you can make them look good to the PR people, you are golden. Because, I can walk into the room and shoot somebody, the PR person will look and say, "Oh, it's you," and will literally leave me alone with them because they trust what I will do. So that's where you're trying to get to. A comfort level.
Reputations matter.
Reputations are huge, and especially with them, their image is their entire bread and butter. So if you screw up one photograph, you are a dead man. You will never shoot that content again. So you have to keep that in mind. Especially if you're working one-on-one with them. So if you're in a big giant group and there's 20 other photographers in the room, they're not going to be able to remember you. But if you're one-on-one, oh God, yes, they will remember you, especially if you screw up.
So just Kirk, to let you know, we've got 5 minutes left in the class. Also, by the way, I'll let you know that we have a couple of call-in. Brittany and Rebecca are calling in, so that's why I keep taking pictures because I'm going
to stop this. But I want to show you. I want to show something else really quick. Then, since I only have 5 minutes.
What I was going to say is we can go longer.
Well, if you want to go on, I've got other stuff I want to talk about, but I wanted to make sure I showed this. This is what I normally do when I walk into the room. And for I forgot your name for the guy who is the graphic artist.
Elliot.
Hold on. That's not it. Here we go. This is it. So a lot of my shoots, I have a preconceived notion of how I'm going to shoot them when I walk into the room. I have a sketchbook that I've had for 20 years, and okay, we've seen that one. So I had to do this shoot of a bunch of comedic actors, and the idea was rock the joke. So I brought in all these musical instruments, and I had them be the band. So just a conceptual idea for the magazine cover. So that's what we did from my quick little sketch.
Yeah, Yeah, whenever I have to art direct stuff for the newspaper, the magazine, I do the same thing.
Yeah, it comes in so much handy, and then you show it to them, and
The photographer, yeah.
you show them to the subject, and you tell them how you want to photograph them, and you show them a little sketch. They totally get it. And that you're working with them, that you're trying. This was a sketch between these three guys. I wanted them to be at the bar, like, the show's over. They come back together like a year later, and they sit back and laugh and say, I want you guys to tell a joke like a secret that nobody else does. And and then they start talking about people on the crew. Did you know he was sleeping with her? And then they just went up and they just went off and started laughing up. So that was exactly what I wanted. That was exactly the sketch. The body positions and everything else is still slightly off, but that's the idea that I wanted to convey. And then
can you go back? Sorry, can you go back to the first one?
So if I can go, whoops.
Sketch.
The sketch.
Yeah.
This one.
Yep, got it. Okay, cool.
So it's just them at the tables in the same positions and just be the characters that they are. So same guys, and I wanted to do this is for the cover shot. That other shot was for the inside. I had to do a cover shot in addition to that. So the idea, these guys, it ended up being gangsters at the end. So I remember the cover for the movie Goodfellas. So I had them in a Goodfellas pose. So I kind of switched Cranston and Paul around as prominence. And then, of course, Vince Gilliam off to the side, who's the creator of the show. So sometimes I walk in with an idea, and this is how I exactly wanted to shoot it. This was it was a really quick sketch, and then this ended up being how we ended up shooting it for the movie Homeland. And this is for the first season when he was trying to figure out whether he was a hero or he was a turncoat. So this is him contemplating hero or villain with the stars and stripes in the background. But it does. I don't get to shoot exactly the way it works out, and sometimes it works out much better. That one worked out much better that way. This was Julie Louis-Dreyfus, just front shot, simple, easy. This one was so this is the guy for the movie Argo. Grant Hovis, George Clooney, Ben Affleck were the producers of it. Also, I got just a quick note. All these books are donated to my daughter. So after I do the sketch, some of the actors sign them for me. And you can see the To Caitlin with Love, George Clooney, Ben Affleck, Grant Hovis. So she's got 2 books so far that I've done for her from all these years of me doing celebrity shoots. But
you're telling me the story. Who was the first person that signed your book?
The first person to sign a book was Silver Lining Playbook actress.
Hunger Games.
Yeah. So I've known her since she was 13 years old. She came into town as a new up and coming actress that I got to photograph, and met her, and then she became kind of a long lost friend. Every time I see her, we always sit there and talk. How's the family? How's this? How's your dog? How's your daughter? She actually, on my daughter's birthday, got on the phone one time, and my daughter was supposed to come to the shoot and help me out, and she couldn't make it. And she literally got on the phone with her and called her up and had like a 20-minute conversation with my daughter, who screamed half the time about the whole thing. But yeah, I've known her for forever.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, and then here she is, Jennifer Lawrence. This is a sketch of Jennifer. This is what we ended up doing.
Like, you're going fast. Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
I'm trying to send this to people who have had to call in.
Okay, so that's a sketch of Jennifer that I did, and I wanted her hands up, one behind her head, trying to figure out exactly how to do it, and then there we go. Her hair wasn't as full as the sketch, but general idea and the general gist is there. Because we're talking about her being, literally an old soul at that tender age of 22 years old. And at that point in time, I've known her for 9 years and have photographed her at least 2 or 3 times every year. So she trusts me. Here's another one I thought about doing of her. I did a couple of different sketches. We wanted to try a couple of different things. This is another one of her. Now this shoot was at a hotel, so I literally dragged the sofa out into the middle of the entryway, in front of the hotel, and had her sit on it. Cars are driving by, people are honking and blowing their horns, but she didn't want to do the sexy pose in front of all those people, so she just did a quiet little pose over in the corner instead. Do you need to go? I'm sorry, Martin. Can you go back to that?
No, you're okay. I did this. I'm sorry. I have no good way of.
Okay, this is illustration. Claire Danes from Homeland, the other co-star, and she's photographed at the Chateau Marmont, very famous hotel, where Jim Belushi died. A lot of famous people have died in that hotel. So this is poolside, and trying to figure out how to photograph her for a cover shot and an inside shot. This is the inside shot. The inside shot is always a double truck photograph. The headline usually goes in that little empty space on the right. So I always leave a dark spot for the headline to be burned in. So it's just her relaxing out there, and then for the cover, I did this sketch of her looking at the old-fashioned Hollywood Claire Hollow shot of her looking over her shoulder, and that's the actual image, actually. And then for a good measure, I threw this one in. But we went with the other one. They didn't like her head tilted. This is the this shot that we saw. And then the front view of Wesley. So without the black background that I put up, just so you guys get a chance to see that I do 2 different angles. Actually, I do 4 different angles of whatever person I'm shooting, because I make sure I cover my bases. This is me way back in the day. This is probably 10 years ago when I had hair. Talking to Penelope Cruz and showing her, that's the book, showing her the illustration, telling her this is how I want to photograph her. And this is, my son took this picture of me explaining to her how I wanted to photograph her.
Photo by Kyle.
Yeah, it's Kyle, yes. So this is the sketch that she's looking at and pointing to, saying, you did this. And then we ended up shooting her like this. She wanted to turn towards the camera. She didn't want to do a profile. She didn't like her nose.
You go back to the sketch again. This one.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks. My computer hates me.
And then we do a round table where we bring in all these actors and we talk about their possible Oscar nominations or Emmy nominations. So this was Forrest Whitaker, Lupita, Oscar, Harrison Ford, Emma Thompson, and Chiwetel Ejiofor. And then I had to get 6 people in one shot for our envelope cover. And it's a little challenging sometimes, so I'm trying to get them in, trying to leave space for where type should be. I think type should be leaving room for the envelope logo on top. So this is what we actually got. This is a schematic for one of the shoots. I do sketch out for big shoots where everybody's going to be. If you can see the top, that's where they're all lined up. Big SoftBank boxes, strip box up to the left, a space for me to shoot right down the middle, a medium box on the side, and a mini box off to the side for Chiwetel, and then sitting on top of that thing, and then barn door light overhead. This is for the first year of House of Cards. And back then Robin Wright was more of a supporting character, so it was all about her supporting him. So she was being the doting wife at the time. So and his whole character, his whole thing he was always talking to the camera. He was always looking at the audience, telling everything. So I wanted him doing the same thing here. I wanted him looking at us, telling what's going on. And then for the inside shot, the show is called House of Cards, so I brought along a House of Cards. And then it's all about the king and queen, so I had them throw cards in the air. And kept going until I got a card about the way I wanted them. So that gives you a quick example of my sketching ideas and how I kind of come up with ideas about certain things. What else can I tell you guys? Oh, I need to do this very quickly. Sorry, Martin.
That's okay.
So I had to do this shoot on excessive shopping, and of course it rained that day. So I had to shoot in the basement of the garage, and this is us setting up the lights. Our whole setup, like I told you, I shoot everything tethered when I do these big shoots. So you can see the computer tethered over there. A couple of assistants giving me a hand. The backdrop, the cloud backdrop, is literally white spray paint that I did right on the spot. Literally, I needed a cloud background, so I spray painted the background while I'm standing there. And
DIY.
And of course, got paint all over him. This is my editor's car. Got paint on his nice car, so we had to wipe that off. And luckily, it was only dust from the spray paint. But these are a couple of the guys giving me a hand. Jackie's our model, who's our lab manager, who's behind the wheel of the car. And let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there were 6 lights in the shot, and a lot of it's just getting the reflection on the car. I needed to make it look like daylight, so I needed to add highlights. And then I had the secondary shot was on the side of bags falling out of the back of the car. So we tied the bags on fishing wire, and I had one of the guys shake the line to get the motion. So it's a slow shutter speed, lights, slow shutter speed, recording, and then last second, bang, the lights fire. And this was the front shot. And this was the side shot. To get you speeding down the road with all your bags falling out of the back of the car.
Could you show the front shot again?
Sure. So a lot was cropped off the right side. All that, it was cropped inward. But the whole idea was, you've been out shopping like a mad fiend all day long. And then since Jackie was an employee, it couldn't show her face, so I had to have her hidden a little bit. But all in all, worked out pretty well. I left the room at the top for the logo. And then as you see, the lights, it was all about just reflecting lights off the car, which is why so many lights, to make it look like it's actually out in the sunlight.
It looked like fun. When was that shot?
That was 5 years ago. It was a Melrose Avenue. It was a Melrose Avenue shopping spree. That was what the story was about. And all these stores are on Melrose Avenue, so we had to make sure I got bags that represented Melrose Avenue. Okay. What else can I show you? We talk about this real quick. Another little. I don't know if you showed this one in your class, Martin. This is that champagne thing I did.
Oh yeah.
So basically, got 2 bottles of champagne. I had to drink 2 bottles of champagne in order to do the shoot. Then cut the bottom off. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I had to do it though. I cut the bottom off the bottle. And then took a super clamp and some duct tape and covered the glass so I don't cut my fingers up, and positioned the bottle upside down. So it was like this. I put some black tape on a wire for a black felt background. Pulled the foil back from the champagne bottle because I didn't want it off. I wanted the idea that the cork had just shot out of the bottle. The cork is positioned exactly underneath the bottle. So when you get it all lined up like this and put a little blue highlight right behind the cork to accentuate the cork, the idea of the combustion of it firing out, and then highlighted the glass so you're side lit, heavily side lit, and then poured salsa water because I needed it to be carbonated to get a bigger splash, and it would flow through the bottle, hit the cork upside down. So once I got the shot that I wanted, I merely had to turn the bottle upside down or turn the bottle on the side, and you've got, voila, cork shooting out of the bottle. And there's my schematic of what I did.
So did you do that schematic before or after, if you were like presenting this to people?
No, it was before. I sketched it out exactly how I was going to do it. And then there were a couple of tweaks when I was setting it up. But basically stuck to the formula pretty well. I added one light that was on the if you look at the top sketch, there's a light pumping straight up. The bottom half of the I'll go back for a second. Like the bottom half of the water, so it looks lighter. Otherwise, it was just going to go fade into nothingness. I was going to go dark or go black, so I had to pump up some light down there. And then added the gold seal. I just bought a seal and just put it on it because I couldn't use the name of the champagne. I just needed the word champagne. Because I couldn't promote a brand, national advertising. People that weren't too crazy about that. But that's basically it.
Nice. It's beautifully done. How many shoots did it take for you to get the
splash right? I think I did about 24 different shots of that because it was on 4x5 of the splash. So fire frame, clean up the mess, wipe all the cell syrup off the floor, and load the camera up and fire another one.
Sure.
So, like I said, I have a lot of fun with a lot of my shoots. Here's me clowning around. How many people say they can went sparring with Sylvester Stallone, the Italian Stallion?
Wow.
That's me getting in a hit.
That's great.
So yeah, a lot of
Got a great sense of humor.
Oh, he does. He's got a great sense of humor. So yeah, it was real easy to do that. He he was a good sport. This was an illustration for we did a story about Hollywood is the old film that Hollywood has, and they wanted me to show they wanted me to go and photograph how they preserved the film, and I told them I had a better idea. I wanted to literally preserve film, so I put it in a preserve jar. So this ran on the cover.
Nice.
This ran on the cover as a play on words, how Hollywood is preserving film.
Nice. Is that a ball jar?
Yeah, it's a Kerry. It's Kerr.
Oh, should have used ball.
Oh, sorry.
Kerry
was the only one we could find.
Ball. Actually, Ball State is named after the Ball brothers who used ball jar. That's why we got the name Ball State.
All right. What else can I show you real quick? I could show you some of these real fast. I'll just blow through them.
Oh, nice.
Again, it's all about the light. You've already got the color of the different drinks, so it's all backlit on a bar, and using backlit light for the colors. And so it's
nice.
Halloween candy, homemade Halloween candy, pretzels, and chocolate and caramel, and to spiders, making spiders. Salmon crackers. Having fun with mini pancakes and caviar. Grilling steak on a grill, and actually this is shot in the studio, and there is no fire there. It's me taking a blowtorch and a block of wood, and then moving it around underneath the steak to create what looks like a fire in a grill. Heirloom tomatoes, vegetable soup. This is interesting. It was about infusing vinegar with fruits and vegetables, and it took me 50 tries before I got the right one. The right splash, the right distance, the right light on these guys. So I had to literally wipe the aquarium. There's a shot in an aquarium, a big 15-gallon aquarium, and wipe the sides down, drop it in again. Wipe the sides down, drop it in again. Thank God for digital, because that's the only way I was able to get it done. Just colorful food, colorful mess. This one was interesting. This was shot at a woman's house, and I was trying to figure out how to shoot it because it didn't work from the shooting from the sides. So then I rigged a camera with a tether cord overhead, and then shot it overhead, and just had them continually pass plates around until I got the shot or the motion that I wanted. And then the guy reaching for it, somebody else spooning it out, and Thanksgiving. The turkey is turkey's the whole thing. So everything revolves around the turkey. Is the idea. So they wanted me to shoot pasta, but I wanted to just do the ingredients. So mushroom pasta, that's everything that would go into spaghetti, the dried noodles, the basil, cheese, and the mushroom. Holiday soups, squash soup. This one was interesting. They wanted me to do a tossed salad, but without the person in it. They just wanted the salad. So this is what I did. I took a piece of plexiglass and some tacky wax and a push pin, a straight pin, and positioned them to where I wanted them. And at the last minute, I had somebody sprinkle some veggies at the top to get some in motion, some completely frozen, as you can see in this, and some look they have motion into them. That's the ones that are being sprinkled and falling. Wine glass, just accent lights. Oh, showed that one. And then I had to do a picture of a pastry chef. And I was sitting there talking to her, trying to figure out how to photograph her, and she kept calling herself the Sugar Fairy. So literally rolled out some black paper and sprinkled sugar all over the floor and have her do a sugar angel.
Great idea.
And those are all the utensils that she uses to make pastries. So that's quick. Some quick food real fast. I don't know how much time you want me to go over.
Looks like everybody's kind of sticking with us. I know, let's see, did Jacob bail? Okay. Well, if you want to show your sports, you're good, but yeah.
I don't think I loaded this. Oh, hold on, where'd it go? I think I may have put, hold on, I think I may have put.
How about
you want to see the LA
riots there?
Okay, yeah. This is, I'll show you the other. Where'd that go?
I know it's not really on topic for our material, but.
So this is I think this is the edited version. So I just wanted to do a quick down and dirty showing of my pictures from the riots. I'm going to let this run as a slideshow. Shorten the time here. So I picked up the riots, not at the verdicts, but I picked it up at the First AME Church of them watching the verdicts. And then from there, went out into the streets. And by the time I left the church and got out to the streets, people were already with signs and posters. And this is what you're looking at now at the corner of Florence and Normandy, where a lot of the commotion in the riot originally started. I spent 5 hours at the corner of Florence and Normandy. Got into a couple of fist fights. A guy put a gun to my head, told me I was going to die. Got shot at it while I was running down the street trying to get out of there. It was interesting times. But this is 3 days worth of work. 3 very incredibly intense days and nights. And it went on until the National Guard finally showed up. And in that time, I was on the streets. I was running around back in the car. I was in a helicopter doing overheads. I got embedded with a police officer for a couple of hours. Riding in the back of our squad car. Spent a little time with some of the gangbangers in LA that I knew from just being out in the street. Trying to play both sides of the coin, the police side and the looter side at the same time. And I'm trying to show you, this isn't chronological. I'm just trying to show you how it started. I'll show you the Asians. I'll show you the military when they rolled in. I'll show you death at the end here. And then I'll show you reconstruction coming together and trying to put the city back together. So that was 3 days.
Wow.
Actually, that's 5 days because the sweeping up was 2 days later. But those are my that's my Pulitzer entry.
Wow. And you got married. Didn't you get married right after that?
I got married. That happened in April. I got married in October.
Right. We were all out there and still very evident.
Yeah, everything was still
everything was happening.
Still pretty torn apart. So I want to play. Where is it? This is me on a shoot with John Lithgow, and he took the camera from me.
Great, you're good at this. That's really good, John. Okay. Hold on.
So that's just, like I said, I mean, most of my shoots are me doing different things, and having a little fun with the people I have to work with, because that makes it fun. That makes it memorable, because next time he showed up, he remembered me. We talked about it. We laughed about it. So
that's great. It's a great story.
Pretty much, this is. And that's all, folks.
That's great. So, Elliot's and Taylor, and I think that's Rebecca there. Is the call-in user.
Okay.
I've been feverishly texting them pictures from your slideshow. Tried to text a video to everybody, but it didn't. It was too long.
Yeah.
So, does anyone have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I am since I'm a call-in user, I can't see your screen. So whatever Martin's sending me is what I'm seeing. But I'm also simultaneously looking at your online stuff that you didn't necessarily show the class.
Oh yeah, I've got a big gallery of work on online. So if you Google my name, you'll see a ton of my work.
Yeah, and I'm also looking at some of the riot work, and wow, it's just a lot of work.
Yeah, it's 30 years worth of work. So yeah. Anything hit you off of the bat?
I mean, definitely, the riot photos are, that's what I connect to, because that's what I'm interested in this documentary work. So yeah. I just really showing human experience through those.
Yeah, like I said, it was a couple of intense days, and it was like I don't know, like being possessed. Is like I could not be out there. I went from 5 a.m. to 3 a.m. I got 2 hours of sleep for 3 days, for each day. I just had to be out there. Then I had worked a couple of angles where I knew the First AME Church was going to be having some people there watching it, so I went there first. I knew some street gang members from doing a story about street gangs. I knew some of the police officers from having to do literally the police stations right across the street from the LA Times building. So I knew a bunch of them. So I got a ride along with some guys. One of our photographers, his son is a firefighter, so I was on a fire truck for a short bit. So I tried, and then of course I was smart enough to carry a tape recorder with me and literally recorded a lot of sound to go along with that, with a lot of that stuff, because I'm in a police car and I'm getting police calls. I can hear them rattle off calls as they're coming out. I'm in a fire truck and I can hear the fire calls, telling us where the fire's at, or if they're where the fireman's being shot at, or stuff like that. So I've got all of that on tape, and I use it for a slideshow.
Wow, that's great. Natural sound. So I guess before you go, what's shooting in DC like?
So DC's different. It's a lot different than when I remember it. There's a lot more photographers covering stuff. DC's become pack journalism, and I try not to follow the crowd and try to go off to the side and do my own thing. Look for different angles. It works sometimes it doesn't. You don't want to. You don't always want to follow the pack because you always want to make your images look unique. Sometimes I get in trouble for that because I get asked for why don't I have this angle or this angle, and then I show them what I got, and okay, that'll work. I'm trying to find this particular image that I shot. Where is it? Of the impeachment that when I was down there. I can't find it now.
But you're photo editing at the moment, right? You're not really going out.
Yeah, no, I'm doing a lot more photo editing. I'm doing some shooting in between. I can go out whenever I can sneak out of the building, or they let me out of the building to actually go shoot something. I'll show you these couple I shot while I was here in DC. This one's it goes along with the space one, the women in space, black women working and putting scientists in space.
Right.
This is one of the original
Numbers.
This is one of the original women scientists who did the calculations to bring our spaceship back to Earth. So this is a portrait of her doing her computations. This is a portrait of Spike Lee for the movie Black Klansman. And it's Tanya Tucker, who after, 40 years, finally got nominated for a Grammy for country music. So yeah, just different stuff. I mean, that I get a chance to get out and do. So I see some of these come across my desk, and I'm supposed to hire freelancers for them, but some of them I refuse to do. Refuse to say I'm hiring somebody. I'm going to shoot that myself. So that rolls around every now and then. But more and more, they're having me photo edit. They want my eyes behind the scenes now, and come up with ideas instead of in front of the camera. So I'm basically I have a couple of photographers that are back in LA that I teach how to do what I used to do, because somebody has to pick up the torch, because I'm not going to do this for too much longer. So yeah, I'm becoming more of a teacher now.
Nice. I think you're a natural.
Oh, thanks. I try. It's difficult, but I try. I still have the itch to go out there and do it. I'm going to show you this real quick. This isn't my work. This is some of my photo editing work, and this is on the coronavirus. I've been scouring the sites, looking for different images on the coronavirus, and I'm concentrating on the nurses, the frontline workers. So this is a gallery that's probably going to go up sometime early next week. I'm also writing the text to go along with it. So I'm in the middle of that now. I'm not a great writer. I'm an okay writer. So it's taking me a little bit more time to do it, but I didn't want to pass it along. I wanted to write it because I'm kind of glued to the images. The images are personal now. So I feel I need to write it. I need to say something about it. So I'm going to let it run real fast, but it's just images that I found that are all over the globe of the nurses who are trying to save our lives. I thought about doing the doctors, but then I realized that you spend more time with the nurse than you spend more with the doctor. I mean, they're the ones that care about you, sign you in and out, make sure that you're comfortable. The ones that they sit there and they're the ones that hold your hand. So it was only felt natural for me just to do them. And like I said, I'm limited to what I can find on the wire service, but I've been looking for a while, and this is what I've come up with.
That's nice. I should let Becca know that this whole thing is being recorded. So when we output that, you'll be able to see the slideshow.
Oh, good. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Sorry, WebEx gave us such a fit today. This is the first time it's ever been that bad or done that exact thing.
I'm trying to get back my image back up on screen now here.
Oh, you're go back. Yeah, if you scroll to the top, you see a little orange thing at the top.
There it is.
Yeah, so click on that and it stops sharing.
There we go.
And your should come up in a moment. But does anybody have any other questions? Dude, you had a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I had to edit it down. There's so much more. We didn't even get anywhere near halfway through the portraits. There's so many more stuff and some more weird, unique stuff that I've done. That was going to be at the tail end of that, but
yeah. Well, this has been great.
Well, really, I'll come back some other time. We can talk about the rest of it.
Yeah, well, we'll get you back in person too. Again, we had all kinds of grand plans to. This was actually the week that you'd planned. I think we'd initially talked about you coming through town and visiting Ball State for a day or two, and that kind of went out the window. Kirk and Tom and Jeff, all of the most of our roommates actually from Niagara Place, where we used to live in College Park. We were planning a big reunion. It's like the only thing I'd planned this summer. To do this summer other than just work on research. And of course we had to cancel our reservation for the house on the bay this summer. So you guys will see Kirk again, I'm sure. Especially Rebecca. I think Rebecca's sticking around for another year. Some of the other ones, Kristen had to hang up, is also so a few of them will be sticking around.
Cool. All right. Look forward to seeing them in the fall then.
Yeah. I hope so. Whenever we can do it.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, thanks for anybody else have any questions or want to chime in and say bye or anything?
Thank you so much for presenting your work and talking to us. I really appreciate it from a student standpoint.
Oh, you're welcome. Like I said, when you get a chance to see it, I know you just a call in, but if you get a chance to see it and you got questions for me, Martin has my email. Shoot me a message. I answer them all.
Absolutely. All right. Well, it's good to see you again.
All right, buddy. It's good seeing you too.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right. You take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. See you.